All right. I'm gonna uh, get my phone set up real quick while I wait for the stream to start. There we go. Excellent. Good morning. I'm waiting for YouTube to catch up, and I'm just opening it on my phone. So if folks send links, I can approve them. Okay. Good morning. Oh, people were waiting. Thank you for waiting. I appreciate that. Today, we are going to be doing something that I'm doing for work. Oh, and let me. Sorry, I was hearing my own voice, and that is extremely difficult to talk over. So, oh, nope. And now you guys get to hear it. So, the project that I'm working on today is something that I'm working on for my work, and it's basically something that's going to help me automate some of the tasks that I already do. So my idea is I read all of the forum posts on Kaggle every day that aren't in competitions. So if we go to the discussion, like I read all of these posts every day, which is fine. Not this one. That's on a competition. That one's on a competition. That one's on a competition. I think that one's on an in-class competition. Here we go. So like this one, I got an email when this post was sent, and I read it, and I'll probably respond later about the utility of R. That's true. Christopher says better than hearing other voices. True. And as Kaggle has grown, this has gotten to be a bigger and bigger part of my day every day. And I think it's an important thing that I know what you guys are talking about, and I make sure that I'm passing on important bugs to the product team, helping folks out. I'm happy to do it, but I think I can be a little bit more efficient. And one thing that's really become clear to me as I had a lot of travel recently, and I sort of had a big gap where I didn't have a chance to read the forum posts, and then I came back and it was 800, and I had to sort of quickly go through. I'm doing good today. Thanks for asking. How long will the stream go? Probably about an hour. And you can always, if it's too late for you, you can always watch the recording later. It'll be available as soon as it's done processing after the stream ends, so usually 30 to 45 minutes. So what I want to do is build a Slack bot, and that'll be sort of the final step. The first step will be sort of the algorithm design and algorithm design and figuring out what questions I want to ask and building the model to do it. That helps me stay on top of stay on top of the forum posts. And if I don't have the ability to read the forums every day because I'm traveling or out of office or it's a holiday in America or something, then I want a way for my other team members to get sort of the same, helpful information that they would get from me physically, sending them a ping and being like, hey, I'm noticing a lot of bug reports around X. This is probably a big problem. And I don't know yet what exactly I want it to do. So I'm going to start a kernel and sort of walk through this. And if I were building a product that would help somebody else automate part of their job, I would be doing this discussion with them, probably in a meeting. But because it's me and I'm the main stakeholder, I can do this sort of talking out loud to myself, which is nice. That's convenient. I don't have to schedule myself. I'm going to pop that in. So I'm just going to call this Notes on Forums Slack Bot Project. And I don't think we're actually even going to get to the point of writing code today. I would be surprised if we did. Again, this is something where I would start in a meeting and then sit down and do some work. So that's where I am so far with this project and sort of my There we go. And my discussion so far. So in this live stream, I'm going to be talking about scoping out my project, figuring out exactly what sort of, it's not really a product, but what sort of information will be included, what the output will look like, how I'll know when I've been successful. So measuring success is an important part of starting any data science project, but particularly if you're going to be building something that's going to have some sort of metric that you're trying to optimize, making sure that you're optimizing for the right metric. Mulek says, is this going to be a multi-part project? Yeah, absolutely it is. It's going to be a minute. And we do, and I am hoping to do a lot of this in the live stream because, we actually have the forum messages as part of Kaggle. And this is a really good, this particular chart is a really good example of why it's important for me to start doing a little bit more automation. Because I started, what would have been like right around here in this growth curve, and it's continued to go up, and we recently hit 3 million users. I don't think me personally reading all the forum posts every morning is going to continue to be a tractable problem for a really long time. Is this the first NLP session? This is the first one in this sort of like series. So let's start with a problem statement. And these are going to be to help me organize my thoughts. These would be sort of like the meeting notes if I was doing this with some of my colleagues. I want a faster way to figure out... No. I want a faster way to communicate. So I don't really... To summarize trends on forum posts, because that's something that I do. Figure out what questions are good for me to answer, because I do go on and answer forum posts, especially if I have a little bit more time. No prerequisites. You're here and tuned in. That's enough. So I also want a way to flag questions that I might want to answer. So maybe like NLP questions or R questions or, general machine learning questions or questions about like a specific feature that I know about on Kaggle. And alert my teammates if there's a, if the community is reporting something en masse. So just like a lot of people are reporting something. So these are the things that I do. Oh, gosh, I can't spell. So these are the things that I do. And I think this is actually 3 separate problems. So one is summarization. And for that, we could probably pull on some of the existing NLP literature on summarization. This is an active research topic. But I don't really want to summarize the content. The thing that I'm most interested in about... So I'm interested in things like levels of activity. Because if a lot of people are posting all at once, that's a good signal to me that like something's up. So that might be like the simplest thing to kick off with. But I'm also interested in, and I think it's more of a topic modeling project. Deepak says, is it possible to integrate this project in mobile app? Yeah, definitely. Definitely, you could write an API around the code that we'd write for this. Like I said, I'm probably going to do a Slack bot just because I'm in like 18 Slacks. So I always have Slack open in some tab, and I can just start a new Slack that I have a bot that reports to me in. I also got, I don't think it's in reach, but I was at PyCon 3 weeks ago. I don't know. Time is blurred together. And I got a nice little like handy book on how to write Slack bots. So I'm motivated and I have a little guide. So I think I also want to know about new/emerging topics, or topics that are newly popular. Because I'm less interested in summarizing long posts into short posts, because forum posts are pretty short anyway. I'm more interested in knowing if multiple people are talking about the same thing. David says, make a bot that extracts the most relevant question and replies with, let me Google that for you. No, I feel like if people are asking a question on Kaggle, probably they've already Googled it. The bot will have a name? I don't know. And Prisha says, what is a Slack bot? So Slack is a messaging app. Let's see. It's pretty popular in the US, especially commercially. No, I'll pull it up. So I've got it on my phone, and there's a desktop app as well. So here is, I'm one of the organizers of a, oh, you can't read that. I'm one of the organizers of a meetup here in Seattle. So I have a Slack channel for that meetup where we talk about, things around the I'm an organizer, so we talk about organizations and things, and we announce things, and we just have sort of like general chit chat. So that's Slack. And then a bot is some sort of program that sends you messages or links and lets you know when something's going down. Good question. Thank you. I just sort of assumed, of course, everyone knows Slack. I did not know Slack before I started working in tech. It was something that's sort of new to me. Okay. So I think those are the things that it makes most sense to do in summarization. I don't think I actually want to summarize posts. You're very welcome. I want to flag questions I'm likely to know the answer to. This I think is going to be a little bit more difficult, but also is a much more clearly formed a much more clearly formed machine learning question, because I've answered, this is not my admin account. I can actually look into that real quick and see how many questions I've answered on Slack, how many questions I've answered on Kaggle in my admin account. It's a lot. So I have a lot of data about questions that I have previously answered, and I could do some sort of like feature extraction, some sort of embedding to be like, hey, these are questions that I am likely to answer. So I have about 1,800 responses on Slack, which is a good sized training set. I mean, it could be better, but for something super personalized, I think that's very doable. And then I can just take a bunch of forum posts and do some feature extraction. Maybe some topic modeling might be helpful there as well. So if we develop a topic model for the summarization step, we could also use that same topic model as input features for this sort of identifying questions I'm likely to know the answer to step. And this is gonna be like for me personally, just in case because especially if I come back from a trip and there's 800 questions, even if I like know the answer and would like to spend some time answering some of them, I'm just like so overwhelmed. But I'm like, no, I gotta shovel out of this snowbank. And then finally, so we actually have like internal alerting systems, and we're actively working on improving those. But sometimes it's the community that tells us that something is up, and I want an easier way for me to generate alerts if something happens. So I think this is actually an anomaly detection problem. Detection. Hi. That's not even not even close. Anomaly detection. Is that how you spell anomaly? IOI? Oh, that looks worse. Anyway, you know what I mean. And I might also be able to do a little bit of digging into alerting and logging in general, like other approaches that already exist. But I'm guessing that this problem is most likely to be some sort of, thank you. Christopher says it's ANOMALY, anomaly. Yeah, that looks good. Oh, I wonder if that's a without and then nom name, so something that doesn't have a name. David says, since it's a bot, you can integrate feedback, rate how relevant the question is to you, and learn a bit over time. Yeah, definitely. That's that is a good good idea. And I think you can push things from Slack. I'm almost certain you can. Yeah, so I'm definitely gonna build a prototype in kernels, but I don't know where like the final version will live. If it's in kernels, I'm probably not gonna want to retrain super often, just because setting up a VM, training, saving the output is a little bit time intensive. So I might only want to update it like once a week. Yeah. Oh, you can send pushes from Slack. That makes sense. Okay. So I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I really want this project to do? Taha says, I decided to create a bot, and here Rachel started a third topic. Great thing is it's in Python. Well, I haven't started yet. It probably will be in Python, though, because I don't know that the Slack API interfaces with R. It might, but generally people don't tend to use R for software engineering tasks specifically. Okay. So sitting down, thinking about what I do in a day, I go through, I read all the forum posts, I respond to the ones that I can like quickly have an answer to. It might also, so this is sort of like the first step would be to flag questions for me. No, why did you take it away? It took it. Do you want a tab? Is that what you want? There we go. Sorry, when I use spaces to indent it, just deleted it like I had insert on. Hi. So another thing that could be useful and that I do is if I notice there's a question, I'm like, oh, hey, I know blah, blah, knows a lot about blah, blah, and this person has asked a question about that. Maybe identify possible answers based on for a given question. So this is definitely going to be, that would be definitely a little bit more work. I could maybe see that being something that we could possibly even integrate into the news feed at some point. But having a model for each user is a lot more work and a lot more scalability than having a model for like me specifically. I also have answered more questions than most than most Kaggle users. So I have a really large training set, and I don't necessarily know that it's going to be, we'll have that much training data for other people. So I don't think this is going to be, certainly not in V1. I'm guessing that V1 for me will actually look like this, because I think that these two parts, the flagging the questions and developing alerts, are going to be based on features that I develop as part of this summarization. So that's what I want to do. Talha is identify already answered questions, duplicate. Yeah, definitely. That's something that I'd want to be user-facing, though. And for me, this is going to be me-facing. This isn't actually going to be on the Kaggle platform. It's going to be... So Slack is a separate messaging app. So I think that would be a great thing to do in the future. Also fairly difficult. I think a lot of the... so Stack Overflow obviously has a much larger training data set than we do. And they also have tags that something has been marked duplicate. And even then, I think the majority of duplicate marking is done by human moderators and not automatically. So that my gut intuition is that that's going to be a pretty hard problem. Yeah, but it would be cool. It would be cool. And this is just sort of something I'm doing on the side. And I fully expect this to take like at least 2 quarters to get up and running. I think this is going to be a much bigger project than I think it is. Okay. So that's what I want to do. How am I going to measuring? Success? Yeah, that looks right. So how am I going to measure success? So for flagging questions I'm likely to know the answer to, I have a good metric, and that's I have a big sample of questions that I personally have answered. For the summarization, how will I know if I've done a good job summarizing? Because I don't have summaries of Kaggle forums that I send out or anything. I just sort of read them, and if I notice something, something's up, I will mention that. I think alerts, I actually have better data because I know when I've sort of like pinged my teammates, so I could use that as a sort of an overlap on the forums, the forum activity to potentially get more information. But here I don't really have any good training data that I can, like, I don't have a gold standard. And I don't really need that for level of activity. I might, if I end up writing SQL queries instead of using meta Kaggle, I might need to have, some sort of code review of the queries, some sort of validation that I'm getting the information that I think that I'm getting. Christopher says, how are you defining anomaly? Yeah, extremely loosely. Community discussion around a new specific topic. So I think that's the best way for me to define anomaly. I think that's a really good question, and that's sort of how I do it. With my human eyes and hands. And again, if we look at this sort of like time bomb, this is not gonna be the good and scalable way to do this in the foreseeable future. So, Nirant says, Yake, Y-I-K-E, on the most recent few K chats would be a quick way to spot emerging trends. I'm not interested. I'm not familiar with Yake. NLP. Oh my goodness, it is. I don't know. Take PKE Yake. Oh, here we go. Keywords extraction. Campos et al. 2018. Is that Mario's? No. Oh, they've all got ORCID IDs. 10 out of 10. Good best practices. Collection independent automatic keyword extractor. Interesting. Yeah, that's definitely something that would be relevant for this project. So I'm actually going to add a new section down here. Possible approaches. Keywords / I think it's more keywords than topics, because topics are a little bit more defined. Christopher says, can you reply to the bot? If so, maybe you can provide feedback to learning algorithm to steer it in the correct direction. Yeah, that's definitely one thing that I could do. I could do sort of like a little active learning. Sorry, I was like reinforcement learning. No, that's not it. Yeah, no, I guess you could frame this as a reinforcement learning problem, but that just seems like more work than it needs to be. So user feedback on bot output. The problem with that is that I need to build the bot and the infrastructure and everything right after doing sort of like, in order to improve the metrics that I'm doing, which seems like it would take a long time to sort of like loop through that process. I'm assuming the actual implementation is going to take like at least a week, probably closer to a couple months. Online learning. Thank you, Karma. That is what I was looking for. Online learning. So I think these are actually summarization. So that's one for summarization. For flagging questions, accuracy of predicting questions I replied to using my forum post history, and then alerts, accuracy at identifying past events / bugs. All right. Neuron says Rasa X would allow you to close the feedback loop on bots, and its performance is much faster. Look at that. The answer to life says, sorry if this is a dumb question, but what is the problem we are trying to solve? Here's the problem statement. That's a good question. So basically I want a way to automate the tasks that I now do, automate and scale. Actually, I think the scaling for me is more important than automation. So here's Rasa X, conversational AI. Interesting. So I'm not actually I'm not actually envisioning this as a chat bot. I'm more envisioning it as like there's a bot that tells you if it's somebody's birthday in Slack, and it just gives you a notification when it's somebody's birthday as a personal message, which is sort of what I'm thinking here. But if this works for that might be it's dialogue models. Yeah, this may be a little bit more heavy lifting than I personally want on this project, but good to know about. Thank you. And not a dumb question at all. So user feedback on bot output. I can also just do manual verification of topics, and I believe that we do not have any sort of Suam says Rasa has online interactive learning support. Oh, okay. I'm assuming you mean online, like online learning, and not online like in the on the internet. What was I looking at? Right. Oh, so I just wanted to check. I'm pretty sure we don't have any sort of tags on forum posts. There's one on Lannel. I'm pretty sure we don't have any. Yeah, no, we don't have any tags. So I guess I'm gonna have to develop. So one thing that I could do is hand tagging of topics. So my problem with okay, so topic modeling can be supervised or unsupervised. If it's unsupervised, it's basically like clustering. If it's supervised, I have specific topics that I'm interested in and that I have training data for. So I can go through and I can hand tag topics. I have a Prodigy license, which is a really quick NLP data tagger. So I could use Prodigy to do that. My worry here is that if we have new topics emerging in the future, we may not necessarily be able to identify forum posts that are in those topics. So like this, I would call like news item paper result or something, because this is a paper that just came out. I'm trying to get the ones that aren't. I would call this maybe like language help. I'm looking for the ones that aren't in competitions. I would call this like specific data set request. I'd call this maybe like learn feedback, because that's feedback specifically on something on learn. I would call this maybe like project feedback or something. So like I can definitely go through and hand tag the forums, and I have spent a lot of time reading the forums, so I have a pretty good idea of what's interesting and helpful. Ryan says, the scope is already overwhelming. Yeah, it's pretty big. Also, Ross says, interesting, but kind of a hassle. People at our company have played with that and dialogue flow, and it's more geared towards chatbots. Yeah. So this could be like a nice like cherry on the top once it's good to go. But if I had to choose between taking a sort of like an alert bot and turning it into a chat bot and being able to like scale up this identifying questions that a person might be interested in question, I'd be much more interested in scaling up identifying people who'd be interested in specific questions. Especially because this is an internal tool and it's like for me and my teammates. And we've got like, I don't know, 56 people at Kaggle now, so it's a pretty big team, but if it's going to be a huge time investment for me, I think it's more valuable for me to spend my time building up the scope on something that can be integrated into the news feed, for example. Karma, the rest of the name says, can you use like an IDF type keyword extraction? Yeah, my worry is that it will be, sorry, you said IDF and not LDA. So the reason I'm a little bit concerned about LDA is it's a little bit slow. It's unsupervised, so I don't need to go through and tag. And it's also, it tends to work better on longer texts, and forum posts tend to be shorter text, especially the first forum post. So I don't know if it's going to be super helpful in this particular example. Christopher said, do you mean tagging them with a list of labels you chose beforehand? Yeah, good morning. To determine what the labels would be, I'd probably do something like a content analysis, which is something from qualitative research, where you sort of go through and you're like, I would give this X tag, and I'd give this X tag, and sort of like as you go through your list of items, you're like, oh, these things are together, I can probably combine these tags, or I should split these apart, I think these are actually separate topics. And it requires sort of like deep understanding of the specific domain that you're working on. But again, I've read all of the Kaggle forum posts for like 2 years now. I've got a pretty good handle on what people talk about. So that could be one option. I think actually keywords might be a little bit easier. And I'm not super familiar with this, what was it, Flake? Give me the paper. I'm not super familiar with this particular task. Is this unsupervised or supervised? Does not rely on dictionaries, neither it is trained with any corpora. Unsupervised. So this might be one potential way to do the problem, and then I would just have to do like manual verification, like do these seem to be a reasonable do these seem to be reasonable keywords given this post? And no, I just wanted, there we go. I just want this fit. So this would be more helpful for unsupervised. Create labels, keywords / topics for supervised learning. And at this point, I'm slightly leaning towards an unsupervised approach, just because we may have new emergent topics that I would want to capture, and I want it to be sort of flexible going forward. Yeah. David says you could use topic models as features for a relevance model that you train, but use simple topic matching at the beginning for lack of a better metric. Yeah, it's definitely true, as a placeholder. Santosh said, I started reading papers and trying to replicate. Can you give us any tips while reading research papers? I would check out the reading group series, where I read through papers live, and that's just sort of the process that I go through. Is Yake frontally different from Rake? I don't know. And David mentioned that, let's see, maybe there's a citation to Rake in here. As an add-on, we compare it to the Rake system. The demo is available, and an implementation is available on PyPI. All right, so this might be a good first step. Oh no, they have a very like Web 1.0 website. Oh, that's not fair. It's not 1.0. When did this come out? 2018. Okay. Probably just that, that academic web aesthetic. And it is on PyPI. Oh, nope, it's deprecated. The code has been moved to here. Please use the code available at our GitHub repository. Does this one say it's deprecated? No. Okay. So this might be a good approach. It's also multilingual, which is nice because sometimes people do post in languages other than English, and my French is okay. I can kind of read Spanish because I live in the US, and that's just what it's like. But like beyond that, especially like Chinese, I can't. I'm sorry. I know like 2 words, and one of them is horse, and that's not super helpful. So, yeah. And your aunt says to help disambiguate them, rake is regex driven, effectively a pattern. Okay, so it's a little bit more of an expert system. And then yake is unsupervised keyword extractors. So that might be a good way to go about it. So unsupervised feedback, I think, is the way that we're going to go. Is there? Oh, I don't know what that is. Interesting. Fascinating. I tried to do Alt-Shift 5, I think, which is the strike through in Google Docs. It did not work. It instead let me, and that is Alt-Shift, it let me select text like this. That seems useful, I guess. Like that. Does it? Yeah, no, that's multiple cursor selection. Fascinating. Okay, well, I learned something about Jupyter today. Okay, let's tidy this up a bit because this is just super hard to read. And I'd call this unsupervised NLU. I'd lump these together under the sort of broader topic of natural language understanding. Tab that. And these are, and these are supervised questions. So this is much more straightforward. So that is option 1. So I'm thinking that the best way to do this is to actually do like manual verification and just me looking at the results and being like, hey, is that reasonable? So I think that's the approach that I'm gonna take. Yeah, this yake seems very potentially helpful. And I don't know if keywords or topics are going to be better for this particular problem. Okay, so let's think through the benefits and drawbacks of each. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. Nope, okay, I guess I'm not going to sneeze. So, keywords. The benefit is that I think it's probably going to be a little bit more computationally tractable. We have a nice sort of implementation that we can use. The downsides of keywords are that if you don't have a keyword in your document, like the specific word doesn't show up, it won't necessarily be grouped together with similar topics. The benefit of topics are that they're a little bit more flexible. So I'm assuming this is just going to be faster because topic modeling tends to be a little bit slower, especially unsupervised topic modeling. More flexible to differences in vocabulary. That might be especially helpful. So we have a lot of new folks who ask questions on Kaggle, which is fantastic. It's always good to see people who are getting started for the first time. So like in the getting started forum, you can see that there are a lot of different types of questions, and that because people are newer to the field, they may not be super familiar with the terminology that people generally use to refer to specific questions. Carmen. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's a long vowel. Carmen Yagarawal. I think. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. Said get keywords and use embeddings to get similar keywords. That's one potential thing that we could do, sort of like a hybrid approach. Good, thanks. To summarization. So I think summarization is definitely going to have to be the first thing that we do, because it's going to give us the features that we can then use in the other aspects. And this is also the MVP, right? The minimal viable product. This is the thing that I think I can get out fastest. Maybe second fastest. So this sort of level of activity, I think, is the thing that I can get out fast. So just like, hey, people are posting more than normal on X forum, but not necessarily knowing what topics they're posting about, I think is sort of like the very, very minimal MVP. So a high, is that hybrid? Hybrid approach, keywords plus embeddings to group similar keywords. So that could be kind of a cool approach. Joao says, hey Rachel, just got here. What's the project going to be about? The project is a way to summarize trends on forum posts, figure out what questions are good for me, personally, me, Rachel, to answer on the forums, and alert my teammates if the community is reporting something en masse. I need a way to more quickly understand what's happening in the forums and act on it. All right, so that's sort of like the very most general problem, and then I want to put this into a Slack bot so that I can give myself little alerts on Slack. It's very late in China. I've got to sleep now. See you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Not says you can use fast text trained on Kaggle forums context itself. That aligns Panda and PD together, hopefully. Yeah, no, I've definitely we're going to train on the forum posts, which, as I think I mentioned, we have in a meta Kaggle. There we go. And I think it's called like forum messages, forum topics. So that's the title. There we go. Forum messages. So this is the text of forum posts. Actually, does it say if for the forum post, forum numeric ID of the forum topic, the forum post fell under? I believe that these topics, do we already do topic modeling? I believe that these topics are like specific competitions, and like the different forum areas. Submission based on ELO regarding this contest. Okay, yeah, so I think like these different forum topics are specific, different specific competitions, and that some of them are also specific discussion areas, like getting started and questions and answers and stuff like that. Kumar says, we could also think of semantic topic identification. No idea if it can work out for questions. Yeah, so that would be sort of like the topic modeling here. There we go. Now that's aligned. Yeah, And fast text is embeddings, right? Right? Fast text is embeddings. That's the Facebook one, right? Efficient text classification and representation learning. Oh, no, I'm thinking of something very different, I think. No, wait, they've got pre-trained models. Open source library allows users to learn text representations and text classifiers. It works on standard generic hardware. Models can be later reduced in size to fit on mobile devices. Yeah, I guess let's check out the tutorial really quick. I don't think I've actually used fast text. Use a hash table for either word or character n-grams. Okay, so it's n-gram based. What's the best way to represent word phrases rather than words? Vectors. Oh, no. Yeah, this is embedding. Yeah, okay. It's made by the same guy who made Word2Vec, T. Mokolov. Oh, thank you. Helpful. Oh, it is not in Python. This feels like it might be a Java problem. It might be a Java project. Let's see, word representations and then text classification to assign documents to multiple categories. Okay, so this is pretty much what we're interested in doing. Supervised text, and they have supervised classifier. Do they have an unsupervised clusterer? It looks like they might not. Oh, it is in Python now. GenSim has it. That is a good to know. So we might also use GenSim. Yeah. So I guess we could also do just sort of like clustering based on embeddings, which is not usually what traditional topic modeling like LDA is. LDA is based on, oh goodness, some really complex conditional probability that at one time I was super familiar with and have cleared out of the brain closet to make room for, I don't know, Pokemon facts or whatever. Amazon Comprehend does a similar job. Pi magnitude. All right, let's check these out. So text classification is what we were interested in, but it looks like this is mostly for oh yeah, this is all supervised, so probably not going to be the best fit for our particular problem. Can LDA be used here? Yes, but again, LDA is slow to train. Yeah, that's sort of the biggest problem there. David says LDA is just graphic model inference. All right, so it was pi magnitude. Oh, that's not close. A fast, efficient vector embedding utility library, a feature package Python library and vector support for utilizing vector embeddings, machine learning models. Faster, simpler alternative to GenSim, which we're also looking at, but can be used as a generic key store vector for domains outside NLP. It offers unique features like out-of-vocabulary lookups, okay, and streaming of large models over HTTP, which I'm not super interested in. Concatenation, multiple models, additional featurization with ML. So this would be sort of like an input to a model and using features to get there. And GemSim is, oh, they will help you consult. I could pay them to do consulting. Strings to vectors, corpus formats, LDA, that's the latent Dirichlet allocation that we've been talking about, latent semantic analysis, similarity queries, that might be useful for us. So we could use GenSim, which has been around for a while. Now Nuance says, pi magnitude's biggest advantage is the input handling for out-of-vocabulary words. Yeah, that is nice. Gensim has LDA, LSA, and word to vec. Do we want to train Kaggle-specific embeddings? My gut instinct is that we... Okay, so the two things I'm thinking about are A, because vocabulary in machine learning tends to be introduced and change really quickly, whatever we do, we're going to have to retrain. So if we're going to have to retrain relatively often anyway, I think it might make sense to do more like a transfer learning approach and take already existing, an existing embedding and then just loop it around a little bit based on the Kaggle data. Yeah. So I think that's a question for us. Is it worth it to train our own? Do we want to train our own embeddings? And this is usually the part of the project where I would go and read a bunch of blog posts and see what everyone else has done. And I am going to do that, but I'm probably going to do it more offline a little bit later. Ryan says, I would do custom embeddings just because it's not that hard and there's enough text in order to. That's true. I don't actually have a good sense. Oh, okay. Yeah, we've got 460K forum posts. The thing that might be a problem for me specifically is I'm not interested in the competition forum posts because I don't cover competitions. Usually the data scientist who's working on that specific competition covers the forums for that particular competition. And my gut instinct is that the majority of our forum posts are on competitions. So we may or may not have enough training data to get good embeddings from scratch. Shvam says, how do you add new vocab to existing embedding? That's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head. I assume you have to be able to, right? And then the difficulty is figuring out its relationship to the other words you already have in your embedding space. I guess you would sort of initialize it randomly and then update it based on sort of like your normal embedding updating would be my guess. But I don't know. That's a good question. Do we want to train our own embeddings? Well, no. So one thing I was thinking was that the Allen Institute might have like machine learning vocabulary specific embeddings because they do a bunch of semantic scholar search and NLU around machine learning. But I don't think it's going to be exactly close enough in domain to really be helpful for us, even if they do. Even if they do have embeddings that they've approached. Okay, so and the first example to summarization is to look at level of activity. So just time series modeling of number of posts over time. And then we can do things like X posts this week plus or minus from last week, most popular upvotes, and then most replied to. So I think that's like the very dumbest way of doing this to start out with, is just to look at these sort of levels of I'm going to get rid of this so it's not just looking at me. Is to sort of look at these just very simple, very fast to get metrics and use those as sort of our base and figure out what it'll look like. And from there, figure out what the next stage is. And I don't know what people are doing with topic modeling these days. I know folks use GenSim. David says, typically about adding new vocab, you can use the average of the vectors of the context words as a way to represent added vocabulary words. Adding new vectors mid-training would bias the model. Yeah. That's helpful. Thank you. And Kumar is talking about LDA specifically because you're going to have new words will also occur in a new document. Oh, yeah. Amazon Comprehend. Suam reminded me that somebody mentioned that earlier. Comprehend, not comprehend. Discover insights and relationships in text. Amazon Comprehend is a natural language processing service that uses that. What? Why would you do this? I didn't even click on anything. It just went up and then went away. Using machine learning, just generally. We just use like logistic regression to help you cover insights and relationships in your unstructured data. Oh yeah, I think there's a Google one too as well. Google Documents. I forget what it's called. Yeah, there's also there's one that was launched at Next about NLU specifically. Entity extraction, sentiment analysis, classification. So they've got some predefined categories, which is not going to be as helpful for us. Custom content classification, that's supervised. Anyway. Ryan says, Amazon Comprehend does a lot of the basic things similar to what Spacey does. To me, it seems like a scam. I do like Spacey. I'm probably going to end up using Spacey. David Nunes says, we use GPU-powered insights as my favorite. I use my GPU to keep me warm, and when I'm physically warm, I have better insights, and that's how the GPU is powering me. Christopher says, are there embedding approaches that would add a new word next to words that share a root, e.g. that would encode softening closer to soft and softer? I don't think generally people do stemming if they're going to be doing embeddings, but you definitely could. Okay, so it does like sentiment analysis, part-of-speech tagging. I don't think I'm going to do full-on like part-of-speech tagging parsing in this particular workflow. Not says, Amazon Comprehend is invite only and is meant for enterprise document parsing, e.g. medical and insurance. It isn't a good fit for your use case here. Okay, good. That's helpful to know. Prince says, thoughts on transformer nets? Transformer nets? Like, transformers? They're good for some things. I probably wouldn't use them here. David says, me too, when I'm making pizza dough. Just like stick your pizza dough on top of your computer, keep it nice and toasty. Yeah. Oh, Nurat says, yes, that is called the hashing trick. Thank you. I'm learning a lot today. Yeah, so I think my next steps that I'm probably going to do offline, look into current approaches. This is one place where I'm not going to go to the academic literature and see what the latest, greatest research is. I'm more interested in something that will work quickly, that won't take a lot of time and compute, and that has sort of like a nice, efficient implementation that somebody else has already built. That's what I'm looking for here. I don't want to use like, GPT-2 or whatever for this. Yeah. Ryan Chesler says, that's what fast text does. If it doesn't find a word, it will look for the roots to make up that word and average those vectors. Helpful. Thank you. Yeah. So I think I have a pretty good sense of the scope of this project now. My big challenge, and I know this about myself, is going to be keeping it to a dull roar and not getting like super excited and doing a bunch of random stuff, and making sure that I'm focusing in on the things that are most important, and starting with this minimum viable product, starting with the smallest piece I can, and then building on it later as I have time. And my homework is to learn a little bit more about sort of like approaches to topic modeling and keyword extraction. I'm definitely going to read this Yake paper on my own, and clustering approaches that people are using to see what would be most useful for me. And yeah, working on that and sort of figuring out where to go from here. And my plan is to sort of like work on this project intermittently on my live coding coming up, because it's something that I'm working on at work, and I want to share it with you guys and also get your very good help. So it's not just me going like, embeddings, I suppose. Yeah. So I will be back next week. I'll do a little bit more reading on my own and pick an approach. And maybe we'll try a little implementation and see how that goes. And I am guessing that our big problem here is going to be data cleaning and pre-processing and getting everything to go good. And also I'm gonna do my I'm not gonna do my whole pipeline on my live coding, because this is the prototype I'll do on Kaggle, but as I go forward, I'm probably gonna actually want to interface with our SQL and do things offline behind the curtain of secrecy. But I will do as much as I can in the live coding. And then on Wednesday, we will do our reading group. And on Friday, I'll be back with more live coding. And I think that's all the videos I have planned for next week. So, yeah. Prince says, have a look over Transformer Nets by Google. Sure, thank you. Ronald says, just say data cleaning. That it's going to be the biggest problem. Yeah, it definitely will be. I'm glad you learned a lot about approaching new problems, Shubham. This is something I get a lot of questions about. People are like, how do I start? And I was like, I can't answer that for you. It's so dependent on like your specific project, which is frustrating. David says, you can launch Kaggle Comprende. It uses machine learning and GPU-powered insights to maximize value from user content. I mean, it exists, and it's me reading the forum posts. All right. Thanks for joining, everybody. I will see you on Wednesday. Have a really good weekend. And if you're in the US, enjoy your Memorial Day. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.